Hey guys, join Andy and I today as we spend the first day out in the garden getting some spring planting done, a little tour of the yard, and I'm going to share with you what the big project was that the boys and Andy were working on last summer. And we also are going to go on a little tour of our local nursery. So if any of this interests you, stick around. Every year before we start working in the garden, we visit our closest nursery, and this is the Dutch Garden Nursery. It is a Mennonite-owned business, and it has been here for quite some time. It started off quite small, but it has grown a lot over the years. And as I'm making this video, they are currently in the process of building a new facility, and it will be right off of Highway 15, right outside of Edina, Missouri, and that's northeast Missouri. They are also an online store, so you can find them online, and if I remember, I'll put a link to it in the description box below. I am in no way affiliated with them. I just think they're a wonderful greenhouse. So if you live in this area, if you're passing through and you need some plants or something, be sure to stop by. It's a great place. Now, while we're here, it is March, and of course it is very early. We usually don't start putting things into the garden, the warmer season things, until the 1st of May. Maybe the end of April, but usually the 1st of May. We do have a late frost date. So right now they don't have a whole lot of stuff out because it's too early to plant, but they do have your broccolis, your cauliflowers, your cabbages. Here we have strawberries and blackberry and raspberry starts. They have your potatoes, your onions, your strawberries, rhubarb, all of those plants that can take this cold weather and you want to get out now. Here is just a small selection of the trees and the bushes that they have. They will have a lot more once it starts warming up. And here's another greenhouse. They have several greenhouses right here. This one also has the pots and planters and yard ornaments. They have house plants. They have cactus. This is where they usually have all their flowers, their annuals. And here we have some begonias here, and they were really pretty. But again, all of these hanging baskets here will be full of flowers here in a couple of weeks, and it will just be really beautiful. This is the bulk seed area right here, and this is where we usually pick up the majority of our seed because it's a really good price and we've had good germination with their seeds. Here we'll pick up our corn, our beans, our lettuce, our zucchini, basil, cilantro, zinnias, all the things that we can buy in bulk that we will be using. Now, they don't have a lot of varieties in some of the things, so if it's a special variety, we'll have to just buy the packet, but they do have a large variety of different seeds that you can pretty much find what you need here. And so what you do is you just take a little scoop of whatever and write on the envelope or the bag, how much you have and the cost of it and what it is. And then when you take it to the register, they just ring it up. So like I said, this nursery is a really large nursery, and I wanted to give you a better visual of how large it is. So as we were leaving, I just had the camera so that we could look out the window here and see it as we drove down the road. And again, this is just out in the middle of the country on their farm, and it is a huge nursery. Hey guys, we just got back from the nursery and I'm getting ready to show you what we got. Some of this stuff we're going to be planting tomorrow because tomorrow is supposed to be about 85 degrees again. Today was 85 degrees. This is a Friday and we've still got over a week to go in March. Now, earlier in the week, last weekend, we had snowstorms and it started off as rain and then the temperature dropped like 50 to 60 degrees in one day, and we had snow and wind and lots of snow drifting. And so for 2 days they had to cancel our area school. And so the next day they were back in school and it was in the 70s. And yesterday was the 80s and today is the 80s as well. And so it has been really nice weather, and Mother Nature is just confusing everybody. I know our plants are very confused, the ones that are perennials and growing outside. I noticed my chives had been doing really good growing out of the pots and coming up, and they really got nipped back because we did get into the single digits this weekend. So hopefully we're done with the major snow and the major frosts. We'll still probably be having some light frost here, and we usually go through April and start really planting at the beginning of May. So let me show you what we purchased for planting tomorrow. So we should be able to put out some cabbage, and I've got some Magaton cabbage, and it's supposed to get really big. Let's see what size. It doesn't say here, does it? I don't have my glasses. I forgot to bring them out. But this is supposed to be some bigger heads of cabbage. And we don't plant very much cabbage anymore. We used to put out quite a bit, and we have found that with just the two of us here, we don't need that much. I will make relish sometimes with it, and I will make freezer slaw, and we'll eat it fresh, but we really don't need it besides that. I also picked up some red cabbage, and this is Ruby Ball, and that'll just be nice with salads and with coleslaw and things like that. And again, we can make freezer slaw or even some canned slaw. And then Andy picked up onions, and it looks like he's got Candy and Patterson and Lancelot leeks. We're trying some leeks again. We tried leeks one year and they did real well. Whoops. And we also have some red ones, Red Zeppelin. And so we've got some good onion starts here. We always do the starts like this. We don't do the little bulbs. We find that the starts do so much better than those. And we really do well with our onions here. Then last year in the fall, it was really getting dry toward the end of the season, and I think a lot of our strawberries probably did not make it through the winter since they were pretty stressed already. And then with our winter being off and on, I think they've been set back. I'm sure we'll have some, but I went ahead and picked up 2 different kinds of strawberries to kind of replant between the ones that are still there. And one of them is Jewel, and the other is Flavorfest. And I haven't heard of Flavorfest before, so we'll have to see what we think of it. Now these are both June bearing. I prefer the June bearing over the ever bearing just because I'd rather get all of the strawberries at once, and that way we can make things out of them, and I can freeze whole berries or crushed berries and put them away for next year as well. Then we've got the seeds. Oh, and we did get some potatoes. Andy's got some potatoes over there. He's got some yellow, some red, and some white ones, and we'll be putting those out tomorrow. It is that time of year. Andy did get all of the gardens ready earlier, and I have a video showing him doing that, and so I'll be putting that into this video as well. So the gardens are all ready to go. Let's see. So we have, now this won't be planted until risk of frost is pretty much over. We have some jade, 2 green beans. We really love the jade. And we have some Tima bush beans, green beans too, and those are really good as well. So if you haven't tried either of those, we really highly recommend them. Then as far as corn, once the soil temperature gets the right temperature, we'll be planting corn, and we usually stagger our corn so that we have one crop becoming ready to pick, and then one of them will wait a couple weeks and then it'll be ready to pick. So we basically have fresh corn pretty much all summer. And it looks like we have Bodacious, Serendipity, and Incredible, and those are the ones that we really like. I'm also going to try planting some popcorn this year, and this is South America yellow popcorn. So we're going to give that a try. I thought it would be fun. We have some climbing lima beans. Now, if you saw any of my videos last year, I think I talked about my lima beans. Yes, I did. We had some lima beans. I just picked up some seeds and they grew humongous plants. The plants just thrived, and it took over, half of a garden, but they weren't setting. And then I read up on lima beans, and it says that they are not very heat tolerant. There are some varieties that are better heat tolerant than others. So I apparently did not have a good variety for our area. It did start producing once it cooled down, but really it was almost too late because we were starting to get frost. And the beans that we did get from it were really, really good. So we really liked them. So I picked up some climbing King of the Garden lima beans for this year. And it said that they were more heat tolerant. So we'll see. I'm going to give those a try. I think that'll be fun. And we're at the age now that we don't need a lot in our pantry. It's just the two of us. So we can have a little more fun with planting. Now let's see, as far as other seeds, we have some carrots, we have some Bloomsdale spinach, and I got two kinds, Olympia spinach. And I think we planted both of those last year, but we couldn't remember which was which, and we didn't know which one we liked best. So we're going to try again this year. I told Andy we need to be a little better at marking or remembering what we're planting. We also have some yellow squash, and this will go out later. The spinach will put out right away. The carrots will also go ahead and get started. And then some basil. I always have basil growing. It's super easy to grow. You can just scatter the seeds, keep them moist until they start sprouting, and you're good. Zinnias, we like to have lots of zinnias for the butterflies and also the pollinators. And this year I told Andy I want to make sure I have more room in the garden for flowers. And so I think we're going to try that. Cilantro, again, super easy to plant, and I'll go ahead and throw this out now because a lot of times cilantro will overwinter anyway, and the seeds will start popping up about this time. So if I go out in the garden right now, I might find some little plants of cilantro because those seeds that were on the ground start sprouting. They don't mind that cold weather. I have some black zucchini, and we have found that with our zucchini, we have such a problem with the squash bugs that if we plant it and we get a whole bunch right away, we're good. We don't need it to live for a long time and continue to get a whole bunch. We like to enjoy it for a small amount of time. I like to freeze some grated zucchini for the rest of the year. And so if the squash bugs get it, they're going to get it, but hopefully we'll be able to have some at the beginning before they take over. We did that last year and it worked out fine, and we weren't inundated with a ton of zucchini. Green iced lettuce, that's a good lettuce. We enjoy that one. And also a mixed leaf lettuce that we really like. And so those will be going out tomorrow. Parsley, and this is the curled leaf. They don't have the flat-leafed parsley in the bulk seeds there at the nursery. So I always get this one, and then if I pick up a plant maybe or two and put it in the pots of the flat leaf, that'll do us. And then some mammoth sunflowers, because of course we love to grow sunflowers. I do have a ton of flower seeds that I purchased from a seed catalog, and they are in the house, and I'll share those with you as we plant them. I also purchased just this week when I went into town some bulbs, and I love these. These are the oriental lilies, the ones that grow and bloom or bloom more in the summertime, and they can get really tall. And I thought this was a really pretty one We have some in what we call our little secret garden. And they have been there for 20 years or so, and they have done so well, and they're so fragrant, and they're so pretty. So I thought we need to put some more in because we're kind of dwindling on those. I really love to grow dahlias, but I neglect to dig the bulbs. And so this year I picked up some new dahlia bulbs. There's 2 of these, and that is a beautiful red. And this one is also really pretty. There's 2 of these. Isn't that pretty? And they're going to be so pretty. I'm not sure if I'm going to put them in the ground or in large pots. They did really good in large pots last year. I did stake them, but we'll see what we're going to do. We haven't really decided how our garden's going to look this year, but as we get out there tomorrow, we'll be figuring it out. I also have a really pretty orange one. Isn't that dahlia pretty? And when you get your bulbs, go ahead and pick them up early, even if you can't plant them, because sitting in the store in store temperature, you know, that's warm, a warm building, they're going to start sprouting and then they're going to die. So if you want to get dahlias from one of your local box stores, be sure you pick them up early and then keep them cold. Either put them in an area that's sheltered and maybe not heated, or even placing them in your refrigerator will keep them from becoming rotten but before you're able to get them out. I know so many times it's so sad that you go to the store to pick up some bulbs when it's ready to plant and the bulbs are nothing and they don't look good anymore. So pick them up early and then take care of them. Keep them cool. Here's some pretty glad bulbs. And then another pack of really pretty white glad bulbs. So those are the bulbs I have to start with. And as we're planting, we'll try to keep everyone informed and share with you what we're doing. And hopefully we will have a great garden and a great growing season this year. It is now Saturday, and it is going to be a really warm 85-degree day. Totally unusual for our area. But before we go and start working in the garden, I want to give you kind of a little tour of what everything looks like right now. I first want to share with you this beautiful vinyl fence that Andy, with the help of Landon and Drew, put in for me last summer. They worked on it all summer, and it looks absolutely beautiful. I was going to share with you all about this project at the end of last summer when it was finished, but at that time there was so many other videos that I was trying to get out and just so busy with other things that I thought I will just hold off until spring. And that way you can come along with me as we finish landscaping and planting this area for the summertime. Right now, the yard and the garden areas are looking really rough. There's a lot of work to be done, but that's the way it is every year. Once we come out of winter, we start cleaning it up, get everything ready, and hopefully this summer, the flowers and everything will look beautiful. So let me share with you how we put this vinyl fence in. Last year at the beginning of summer, we started putting in a vinyl fence. Now, when I say we, Landon and Andy, and then Drew helped when he was home on the weekends too. But as you can see, we're taking apart this corner little garden, and basically how many hodges does it take to pull out one steel post? It looks like each of them get a try, and they're wiggling it pretty hard. The first one came out quite easy. But let's see who can get this one out. And there goes Drew. Drew did it. So once they got that metal post out, they were able to begin. And here's what the before looked like. And like I said earlier, the reason we put this fence up is that our dog was digging lots of holes, and I really couldn't have a pretty area for my flowers and my pots because he was getting into them. And so we wanted to make it nicer at the entrance, and I wanted to have a little area for my flowers. So once we got all of the stuff dismantled and that was in the way of putting in the fence, we started, or they started, getting the land prepped and everything ready.
I think it should be noted that I did pull that first post out with these.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you were probably just tired.
Well, I had to let them do something. Here, just tilling the area where we're going to put the fence, get it all leveled up and get the grass killed. We'll come in and put weed barrier on it and mulch it and that kind of thing. That's the fence that's going east-west on the north side of the area. And here we're working on the north-south leg of it, so it'll kind of be a L-shaped fence, but it's going to square up that front part of the yard right around the house. Okay, here we're starting to dig our first hole, and we've got concrete to work through there on the edge of the sidewalk, and also tree roots and things like that we were fighting through. Lane and I are working on that. We did call in Missouri. We have a dig right number, 811 number we call, and they'll locate utilities for you. And the only thing we have in the yard at all is our fiber optic line that comes in for our internet, and that's north of all of our hole digging here that we're doing. It wasn't within our area. We'll dig the holes we set them about 3 to 4 feet deep, and then we concrete the posts in. You'll see later on where we're mixing the concrete and whatnot. And the posts that were right on the corners where we're going to hang a gate, we put a 4x4 wood post inside the vinyl post just to stiffen and strengthen those up a little more, so when we're mounting the hinges for the gates and things, there's a little more to tie into.
Yeah, the regular posts are hollow. They're the vinyl hollow post.
Yep.
And if you want to stiffen them up, you can add the, posts.
The 4x4
post
treated post
inside.
fits about right inside them.
And you can see where you guys had kind of lined out where you wanted it to go and everything, so that everything was straight, and tried to level it and stuff.
Yeah, you want to pull a line, so have a tight line from corner to corner, so you can kind of line up laterally. And then as you set the post, you also want to check and try and keep things vertically lined up as well.
And for anybody that is not familiar with this tool, what would you say this was?
Well, that's a manual post hole digger.
In a second he'll pull it out and the dirt is there, and then you put it back in and you dig some more.
Yeah, you just turn it and it just kind of augers in.
And so we do, and we eventually did get a...
Yeah, I got a smaller bit for our post hole digger on the tractor, and so we used that on some of the other holes.
And so there you have several of the panels going up, and you just kind of put several posts up, and then you worked with the panels once they were hardened.
Yeah, I made just kind of a wooden jig that spaced the posts out right for the panels. So I could keep them, vertically level and then spaced right, so that we could do a few of them and not have to do one and put a panel in and do the next one. So that wooden jig kind of helped on that.
And you have a string there that kind of keeps them all right up next to it. It looks like, so that they're all going in a nice straight line. So he did do a really good job at keeping them level and straight, and it looks really nice. And that is kind of tricky with the vinyl fencing.
Well, and also if your ground's not perfectly level, you've got to go up and down and things like that.
Yeah, and so they did a good job doing that.
Leveled up. Here we're mixing the concrete, and pouring the holes.
And that's just an electric concrete mixer. Did you get that one online?
Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight, okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty good little mix. It won't mix more, at most 2 60-pound bags is a pretty big load for it.
So if you have a lot of concrete to pour or something, these are nice and handy to use. And you just put the dry concrete in there and then some water, is that right?
Yep.
Kind of get used to what you need to add. And then just turn it on and it mixes it. Now, is that the concrete right there?
It's in that blue tub, and then we'll just take it over and dump it in the hole.
It took a lot of concrete, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I forget how many. I had a pallet full of concrete, and I think we used it all.
And that's a fancy tractor bucket attachment.
It's just a carry-all that I put on with the forks, and I actually used it when I was siding the shed and the barn. But it comes in pretty handy for a lot of things.
Yeah, because you could stand on it, and you've got some edge rails
got some
and
working
stuff.
space.
Yeah. So then they just started, once they've got their pole centered and leveled, just start scooping it in.
Yeah, and we would tamp in some of the clay dirt on the bottom so it'd kind of hold the post in place before we poured the concrete in there. And then they make a little, I don't know if we have a picture of it, there's a little wooden jig deal I made up just to keep the spacing correct. And then there's post levelers. They're just a plastic, I think they're $6 or $8 that'll just rubber band onto your post, and that has a level bubble for both directions, so it kind of helps to keep the post level and see that you're lining it up correctly.
So it takes a lot to fill up that one little hole. It doesn't look like a very big hole, but once you start putting concrete into
about
it,
a 9-inch hole. And we were going, those are 8-foot posts, and we did cut them off a little bit, but they're probably 42 inches deep at least, most of them.
And what do you go, like, why do you go that deep?
You want to get below your frost level to keep them from, hopefully to keep them from heaving, so they don't get real irregular over time. You can see that orange post level in the background there.
Oh yeah, and just
a couple posts down.
Next to you there.
Yeah.
Now this is a really hot day, even though they have their long sleeves on. They've got the long sleeves to keep the sun off of them. But they were working in the middle of summer when it was really hot, and they worked hard.
Yep, we just tamp that in to make sure you get the air out of the concrete and everything. And fill about maybe a little below level of the soil so that you can put some soil on top of it so the concrete's not showing. We will actually weed barrier and mulch all this anyway, so. So Landon's checking level. Must have looked good.
And off to get more concrete.
Yep.
So here we have the fence all finished, and we're laying the landscaping fabric down so that the weeds won't be coming through. And so we've got it all along the fence all the way back on both sides.
There's that post leveler, that orange deal on the post there, and it just shows you level both ways, which is kind of handy.
And we did add double gates here so that we could bring the lawnmower and the tractor in. And then over here we had just the single gate. We had originally taken the one off of the secret garden, but we didn't care for the way it fit, so we purchased one that would fit in that spot, and it worked out well.
Yeah, we're using just wood mulch here, our local sawmill, Cardwell Lumber, that's south of Edina on Highway 15. You can get even up to a dump truck full of mulch, and that's what we did in this case. Had it delivered, and then just spread it out, and it works really nicely. We use the natural. You can get it dyed red or dyed black if you prefer that.
Yeah, and it's a nice mulch. It doesn't have big chunks in it and
Not super
stuff.
coarse or anything like that.
It works into it real nice. Now, the one thing about having the wood mulch is you're going to have to add it yearly, and we'll just be getting another truckload this summer and putting it on top.
You have to kind of freshen it up each year.
And you don't want to put this right next to your house. This is just regular tree mulch. Over by the secret garden and closer to the house, we did cypress mulch, and hopefully that won't attract the termites.
It's supposed to be insect repellent somewhat.
As you see right here, the mulch looks really nice and in place, but the dogs really like it there, and they tend to pull it into the driveway. So we're going to work on what we need to do to keep that mulch in place. Here you can see we've planted some, what are those called, Andy?
Rose of Sharon.
Rose of Sharon, and then the hibiscus.
Yeah.
And here we have also, against the house here, expanded this area, and we're going to show you how we did that coming right up.
We basically doubled the width of that away from the house, so there's a little more room for pots and things like that.
We wanted to plant shrubs.
Yeah.
And so we were able to, you don't want your shrubs right up against your house, so we wanted to plant some shrubs there against the house. And so we I guess, just doubled that.
Bumped it out.
Yeah, bumped it out and moved everything forward and filled it in. So here is what it looks like right now at this stage. Again, we're going to change that fence and put it back in, but everything's looking really nice. And all this black here, this landscape, this is all going to be cypress mulch. And the flowers are doing so well. It's now late summer, and everything looks really pretty. Now, while they were building the fence, we were also working on this area next to the house. So I'll just show you and the video that we took of how we did this.
Again, we're going to basically double the width of that bed so we can put some bushes in there instead of just potted plants. And so I'm moving the landscaping stones out, and we'll end up putting down trying to level things out as best we can and putting down the weed barrier. And then we use rock, river rock up against the house, river rock gravel basically up against the house rather than the wood chips there. So here we're putting down the barrier.
Now, we had put that section in earlier when we used to have big old shade trees next to the house, and the dogs would dig right up next to the house because it was cool and they wanted to be as close to the house as possible. So that's why we originally had put that area in. And so now we want to put bushes there because it's now very sunny.
Yeah, those big trees we had to take out, they were, one of them was, of course, an ash tree, and it got the emerald ash borer got it. And the other one was just old, scraggly Chinese elm.
Now, the landscaping fabric we're using is a pretty heavy-duty professional one. So you do want to invest, if you're going to go to all this work, invest in something pretty heavy-duty. This will let water and everything go through, but it won't let the weeds come through. And here I am just drawing with a piece of chalk, something I found out of my quilting room, my tailor's chalk, and making the line that goes
arc
all the way around, trying to follow that with the large rocks, just reconfiguring that.
That rolls that we used were 250 feet long of that fabric, and I think we used one roll, and then we decent part of another one, and then we pulled a string to try and keep it halfway straight, and Ground was pretty hard in the summer.
Yes, it was. It was really hard right there. Yeah, we had a hot summer, and this area gets really hot in the afternoon. And so finally we pulled the tractor out and
just try and loosen it up a little bit so we could get it a little more level.
And that's
break that sod.
The tiller on there.
Yep.
And that did work. That helped. So you can see we expanded it out quite a ways. And I had planted these pots there just to put something there now that it was sunny, but I don't plan on having the pots planted on that area now that we have the bushes, and it'll take a little bit for them to fill in and grow enough, but I think they'll look really nice once everything's more mature. And you can see behind the tractor there we have lots of different things that we're putting in, some bushes and stuff in the pots behind him. And now we'll fast forward to after we get it all done, and we'll see what it looks like finished. And there it is, wider now, and some bushes are planted, and it's looking really nice. We also shortened that bed a little bit, and Andy put in a concrete platform right there, so now we have a little bit wider area at the entryway. Now that we had a chance to check out the front yard and that new project that the boys and Andy just finished, now let's move on to the gardens. And as we're going to the gardens, we're going to pass the barn here, and we will be lambing here in about a week. I would think they'd start lambing here in about a week, and I'm hoping to share some videos of the lambs with you because they are just so cute. We used to lamb in January, and it was just too cold. We would have to bring out heat lamps and bring some lambs in to warm them up, and it's just so much easier just to wait until March, and so that's what Andy's doing now. Now, if you're new to our channel, we do have 2 large gardens, and this is the first one that we're coming up to, and then Andy's right over there, and there is another garden right above him there. And about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Andy was able to get out and till the gardens and get them prepared for planting. And so here is a video on how he prepares the garden beds. So Andy, why don't you tell us how you prepared the gardens for planting?
Okay, this is basically I'm putting compost down on all the beds. Ideally I'd do this in the fall, but I didn't. I got the kind of the western half of the garden done in the fall, but I did not get this eastern part done, so I'm doing that. So I run a ridge or pile up a ridge down the center of the beds, and then you'll see later on that I come down and till that, and the tiller will just level that out perfectly, and it works it up really nice level bed. So it'll smooth that all out, and you won't see a ridge at all once the tiller's done. But this is compost that's probably about 1.5 years old, and it's if you see it up close, it's kind of like, almost looks like soil or coffee grounds. You hear people describe it as that, and it's very similar to that. It's have lots of organic matter and nutrients in it, and again, we don't use any commercial fertilizer or anything like that. This is all we put on it, is the compost we have.
And what basically is in your compost?
It's basically sheep manure and hay, and that's about hay and straw, that kind of thing, and it's just turn it all summer long with the tractor bucket. There's a shot of what it looks like, and there it's ridged up. You see a couple ridges, and then here in a minute you'll see it where we've run the tiller over it, like those beds up above there. And there it is tilled in. It's just perfectly
level. Do you do
level.
a very deep till?
It's probably 6 to 8 inches, something like that. And I'm putting about a bucket load per bed, tractor bucket load. And I shovel it on there. I want to minimize the amount that I have the tractor on the beds, so minimize compaction a little bit. Here's all the beds done now on that side, and just worked out perfectly. Moisture was just perfect and everything. It just couldn't have been better that way.
Yeah, and this was what, about the 1st of March?
Yeah, I think so.
Normally, it's hard to get out at that time. It's pretty wet, but it's kind of dry right now, so it's worked up pretty easily. So that looks really good. And I can attest that the garden planted really well this year. What we've planted so far, the soil is really nice. And the first thing we're planting today is our potatoes. And last night, Andy had cut the potatoes so that each section had about 2 or 3 eyes on it, and just let them set overnight. And now he is digging a trench, and we are just going to be planting them in a row. Every year we rotate where we plant each of our vegetables, and so it's been many years since we've had them at the bottom of our garden here. And so they should do really well here, because this is the lower portion of the garden, and it does have quite a bit of moisture in it. And so they do like moisture. In the last couple of years, we have noticed more potato beetles, and so we're hoping that these potatoes can be planted and harvested before the potato beetles get too bad. And so what we decided to do here was, Andy's going to dig the trenches, I'm going to put the potatoes in and then cover them up. We have 3 varieties, and there is a yellow, a red, and a white potato. And I have really enjoyed eating our canned potatoes that we canned a couple of years ago. And they're great for soups, they're great for casseroles, cheesy potatoes, and things like that. And they have come in really handy. So it'd be nice to get some new potatoes so that we can can some more. I do have several jars of potatoes left, so if this year is not a good year for potatoes, that's okay. And there we have 5 rows of potatoes. And so that should be plenty for us if they do well. Now, if you are new to our channel, you may not know about our electric fences that we use. And these are garden fences. They are electrified, and we use them not to keep necessarily raccoons and rabbits out of our garden, but to keep Gus out of the garden, because he loves to dig. And so these are to help preserve the garden from our pet. Now, the garden over on the other side there where Andy's working, it does get some rabbits in it, and so this fence has taken care of that. We've had little rabbit burrows in the gooseberry bushes and stuff over there, and so they would wipe out our starts of tomatoes and peppers in just one night. So it'll be nice to have the fence for that too. So here Andy is planting onions, and we're just doing those starts like we did last year. And he is starting off by digging a trench to put them in. And then he realized that last year he had found that you can just poke those onion starts into the ground, because the ground is so nice and you don't have to work it up like this. And so while he finishes this last row and we're talking, he remembers that he doesn't need to do that. Now, I will use this trench right here for the leeks, because they are really tiny. Some of the starts are just really thin, and you can't push those down. But for his onions, when he's planting the onions, he will use just the push-in method.
So we've got the candy onions, which are just a good sweet eating and cooking onion. They don't have as long, I think 2 to 3 months storage on those, not as long. Then we've got the Pattersons, which are supposed to be like 6 to 8 month keepers. So
that'll be good, yeah.
Keep long. And then this is a different one here, red
Zeppelin,
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be long storage red onion.
Okay.
And then these are just some leeks here that are.
I saw you got leeks, yeah.
They're supposed to actually do well just staying in the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you wouldn't even just pull them as you use them.
Okay.
Need them.
Yeah, we had bought some one year and they did real well. And now we have all of our onions and leeks put out right next to the carrots. So we're going to start planting some cabbage. So here Andy is putting in some cabbage that we have purchased. We only have 8 plants and that's all we need. We don't need very much cabbage. Enough to eat fresh, should maybe make some freezer slaw. So we've got 4 reds and 4 greens. And he just makes a little hole, sticks the plant in, and covers it back up. And these will take cold. Cabbage are very resilient. You need to get them started early. Cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli.
Yeah, they don't like the heat.
Are they brassicas? Is that right?
Yeah.
So they won't do as well in the heat. Get them started when it's cold. And we do have the white moths, which do come in and chew on the cabbage, but if we can get them started, a lot of times they will get ahead of the moths. And this is the same planter that we had last year that we showed you how we used. It's the Earthway, and it makes planting really, really easy. You have special discs for the seeds.
And they cup them, and even the spacing between the cups, spaces out the plants in the row too for you. So
tell us what
slick. So it's got the sweet corn here.
Those are real big.
Yep, and they have bigger cups. And then you've got your beans and small peas, and this is peas, jumbo peas it says on that one. And this is little stuffed beets, kind of in between probably spinach, beets, Swiss chard, okra it says. Radishes, asparagus, spinach on this one, and then the one that's in the machine is a real fine one, and it's for those just pivot on there, but that's a real small cups, and that's for things like lettuce and carrots and these onions that we're going to plant, that kind of thing.
Okay.
They just go on there and they just turn them.
They're just little plastic discs.
Yep.
And we've had this, 4 years maybe?
Well, at least that year. And this down here is your shoe for planting depth. So if you've got corn, you might want to set it at, 1.5 inches or 2 inches. But for something like lettuce and carrots and really small seeded stuff, you pull it all the way up and you just rely on the wheel to roll it in, because you just want just a very little amount of dirt on those.
Okay. And that little chain right there is to drag behind and cover the soil.
Yep, gives a little bit of a... And then you also have your row spacer up here. If you're doing multiple rows that you want at a certain spacing, you just adjust it with this thumb screw here. You can slide this in and out, so you can go up to like a 30-inch row for corn, or much
It's just
narrower
like the
for
bar
small
on my
stuff.
sewing machine when I'm doing quilting. I will put the little bar on that and follow my pass stitch.
I don't know anything about that. I think you're making that up.
It's so amazing that they are so much alike. You know, if you could do this, honey, you could quilt. So he's just putting in some lettuce here. And again, it's just real easy. You only have to do 1 row, but we usually like to do 2 at least, just because we like to overplant, just in case the seeds aren't germinating correctly. Or if something happens and we get some that die. We can always thin them. Okay, so there's our lettuce. Okay, Andy's going to plant a little bit of spinach here. And if we can get it out early enough, and if it's cool enough this spring, we should have a good crop. I know some people plant their spinach in November, and then it just lays in the ground. The seeds just lay in the ground and then sprout as soon as the weather comes to temperature. And now we have the Olympia spinach going in farther to the north, I believe. Is that north? Is that north of the Bloomsdale spinach? I'm not good at directions. So we have Bloomsdale in the south row and Olympia in the north row. All right, so here is the back porch, and as you can see, we've got a mess. I am going to go ahead and leave the dried stuff in the pots just a little longer, because those were petunias in those pots, and if I take the dead stuff out now, it's not going to protect those seeds. I like them to reseed, and so I'm just going to leave them there a little longer since it's still early. And then I will clean those pots out soon. But you can see now my chives were looking really good. They were green, and then we got that cold spell and it just really knocked them back. So those will come back, no problem. The sage made it through the winter, and so it'll probably have really pretty flowers on it this year. And then there's some more sage there. But what I am going to do is, we have this crepe myrtle right here that always dies back every year, and then I just cut it back and it just comes back in full bloom, and it's just beautiful, perfect size right there. So I'm going to trim that out, just cut all that dead stuff out. And then this is my hibiscus, and again, it will die back during the winter time, so I'll just cut all of that old growth off and it will start shooting up once it gets to be warm enough. Those were also petunias in those pots, so I will just let those sit there for now. And so, oh, I also have around the corner here, these hydrangeas need to be pruned back, or just the flowers need to be cut back, so I'll do that too. So we've got the hibiscus all trimmed up, and I'll come back later with the leaf rake and get all of the leaves out of there. And the same here with the crepe myrtle, all trimmed down. It is ready to start sprouting, and I'll clean up around there with the leaf rake. So while I was over there trimming up our hibiscus and crepe myrtle, Andy was hanging the martin houses, and this is what the boys and Andy gave me last year, and we had a great bunch of martins move in, and it was great to have them They are so beneficial and they're so fun to watch. So I hope you guys, if you have an area that you can hang some Martin houses in, that you're doing that as well. Now, before we finish up for the day, we have one more thing we need to do. And Andy is going to go in and he is going to pull these pig feed panels out of this part of the garden. And so he's just going to use the tractor and he's going to pop it up and hopefully get it out in decent shape, because we both came up with an idea to put these to good use. And I think it's going to work perfectly. And then, of course, Gus wants to get in that dirt and dig. He's not afraid of much. So Andy's going to take that one and he's going to put it somewhere. And after we finish this little short video here, I'll show you where he takes these panels. There he is getting the other one. And then off to give them a new home. All right, so here is what Andy did with those hog feeder sections that he just pulled up over by the garden. We are going to be putting them out here, and remember we had those old tree stumps that were huge. We are just putting these around them. And then that's going to give me some wonderful planting area too. So that'll be wonderful. So he's just pulled everything that I had on the stumps and put it over there, and I'll be moving that and rearranging it as spring progresses. But I think that's going to be great for areas of planting. I have some good ideas to put in there. Well, guys, thanks for joining us today. It feels so good to be back outside, and I feel like we got a lot of work done today. Join us later in upcoming videos as we do more out in the yard, as I cook, can, and sew inside. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and liking and sharing is always appreciated too. So as always, I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you back here soon. Bye-bye.